Okay guys, I'm back. So I'm going to do a watercolor. As you can see, I've made a circle, and this is sort of the sea. And if you bear with me, I'll draw some more lines. Just like this, to give it a little bit of depth. Now, I'm going to start off with the sky. And let me check if you can see it all. Yes, you can. There you go. So what I do is I wet the paper. Make sure I stay inside the line that I drew with the pencil. But I'm wetting it, as you can see. And you do want to, if you do this, if you're going to do wet and wet, you do have to make sure that your circle is, where you make it wet, that it's totally straight, because that's where the paint will stop expanding. So there we go. Now the tricky part, this wavy part. Gotta be a little bit quiet here because I need a little bit of concentration doing this. That's it. A little bit more water down here. Now, when you do this, if you're not used to watercoloring, everything that is wet, that will help move the paint. And everything that's dry, there it's going to stop. So I've got to watch out here because I went a little bit over the line. Now, all I have to do is take another brush. Make sure everything's nice and wet. That's it. And I'd like to start with some turquoisey, no, some light blue. Let's see, this one I think. Let's see how this works. There you go. See how it's moving but not going outside that line? So we're gonna let it flow. Just pushing it up there in the boundaries of what I made, what's wet and what's not. Now, what you want to do is, when you're doing watercolors, you can play with the lighter and the darker parts of the painting. So what I like to do is fill in the whole thing, the whole part where I'm going to use the same color. Then get a bigger brush and pull it all down, as you can see. Pulling it down. Like that. And of course adding a little bit more up here. Getting the brush again, pushing it around. Like that. Now let's see what we're going to do here. That's kind of cool. I like the color. So this is this has to be sort of the sky. And I like it that it goes a little bit darker around the edges, gives it a little bit of depth. That's about it. Now I'm making sure it's all sort of flowing. Now, what I'd like to do is take a little bit of that paint and put it on the plastic next to me, like about a drop. Then come in with a really small little brush and put some undiluted color in there, and then just come along back on that line just to make it a little bit darker, like I'm doing right here. And sometimes you want to dry it because there's a little bit of water accumulating. You don't want too much because that line will only stay in place as long as it doesn't have too much water pushing up against the dry piece, because then it'll disappear and the water will pour over it. Now there we go. That's kind of nice. Now I'm going to let this come down a bit, because usually when you do this kind of work, the best thing is to stretch this paper, make it totally wet and stretch it, and there's this paper tape that is used to stretch, because you can get it all wet, and when it dries it sort of stretches like a canvas. Now, for me, this is about as nice as I like the sky to be. I'm cleaning off my bigger brush right now. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, I'm about level with the iPad. So now I have the cleaned off brush, and as you can see, I don't want these marks where you can see where I added more paint. I just want it to be a little bit more, oopsie, like this. Then you have to go over it again. And I'm drying off the brush again. Okay, that's okay. Now, the trick. Uh-oh, I don't have paper. Okay, I'll do it with a piece of towel. Now, if you want to have something that looks like clouds, all you really have to do is get a piece of paper and just do this. You pick up the moisture again, and I'm not sure if you can pick it up on the screen, but by doing that you create an illusion of really light clouds. So that's what we do, like that. And of course you can come back in and do another, make this a little bit darker if you want to. Now for the bottom, see this, I'm going to leave this alone because I want this to first to dry, but we can do it down here. So I'm going to take another color blue, and I'd like a little bit darker blue because it has to be something like the sea. Navy blue, yeah. Okay, so then I'm going to leave this one, but I'm going to make this one wet, as you can see. Going, pushing up along the line, down here, trying to be very precise in how far I go with the wet water. Wet water, like you have dry water. Sorry about that. But you know what I mean. So doing the same down here. And I'm doing it fairly quickly because I don't want a video to be so long, but when you do this, be very, very precise where you put your water, because that's your playing field. Everything that's wet, that's where your paint's gonna go. Okay, now I'm gonna come in and right out of the bottle, I'm gonna put some on here. That's it. Cleaning the brush again. And I'm going to push up against where those waves are going to be, like that. And we might even leave that. That's kind of pretty. So going up here, pushing it up right to where we stopped with the water. That's about it, nice and smooth. Now I'm going for a turquoisey color, because this is going to be a lot of blues. See how it flows over into each other? That is pretty. You can't really go wrong with this stuff. You know, if you have your painting in your mind before you start, then you pretty much know where the colors, where you want them to go. And because you wet your paper, you know that you have to stay between those boundaries. Now there's a lot of water here in the corner because the paper is starting to warp a little. So then you just really dry your brush, press it in, make sure that it picks up some water that has accumulated in the corner, and you're good to go. There it is. Now if you think this is too dark, like I thought it was a little bit too dark, then you just go over it with a clean brush, and as you can see, it levels out. So now I'm going to come back in with the darker blue. I'm going to put a little drop on the plastic on the table. I'm going to clean up my little brush, put it in there, and come in there, make it a little bit darker, because that's what gives it the depth. I got my paper in the paint. Now up here. Now, you don't want the whole thing to look the same, because then actually it's sort of, I don't know, it doesn't look so good. So having these different, like this little piece, that makes it more interesting. You don't want it like uniform. Is that an English word too? I hope so. That's about where I want it. Now, what I do now was try to do with the hairdryer. I'd put the hairdryer on it, make it totally dry before I do this one and this one. But because I'm just showing you what I'm doing, I'll skip one again. Going along the line, as you can see. And right now I'm using this ready to use Vallejo fluid watercolor, but of course you can do this with any watercolor you have. You don't need the Vallejo to do this. I just find the colors are really vibrant, so that's why I like using them. Just right out of the bottle, it's, you know, just nice to look at it. That's all nice and wet. This bit here. And if you don't have any of this stuff and you're gonna buy it, I'd buy a really small brush for, and you have to watch out that it's for watercolor, because they are different. So then I'd do that. I'd buy a really small one, like say a size 2 or 3, and I'd buy an 8. And that's about all you need. Well, of course you want a whole jar full of brushes, because I know we're artists, we need a lot of stuff. But you can get by with 2 brushes, a small one and a size 8. That's perfect. I think this is an 8. Yeah, this is an 8. Now I'm gonna clean off the brush a little bit. Trying to get it to move into the wet bit here, that it's not that obvious that there are lines in it. That's kind of cool. Just like that. Now, then I'll come back in with some dark, just to make the sides a little bit darker, give it a little bit of dimension. And of course you want some, you want it to sort of a little bit match. You don't want to go all out and use totally different colors. Well, you can, but you know, it's up to you. But I like it to be a little bit the same. I think it's just more appealing to the eye. Putting in a little bit more here, because I want these sides to be a little bit darker as we go down. Maybe up here, just a little bit more. That'll give it a something special there. That's kind of pretty. Then we come back in with the other color that we used up there. I'm going to put it on the table because I'm not going to put it right smack on there. Just a little hint. That's it. And then come back in with my clean brush and pull it down a bit. Okay. Well, I'm sure you're gonna get the idea what I'm going for. A little bit of turquoisey here. And then the other color. And the more you add the water to it, the more it can sort of merge into the other colors. That's about it. That's about all I want to do here. Oh, this you can really see. Don't really like that. That's it. I'll just put a little bit more of the dark there. That's about it. Yeah, that's okay. Whoops. Okay, so only one left to do. So I'm gonna put some water on there. And this if you do this, this is something really to give as a gift for a child's bedroom or something. You could put a little boat on here, put a couple of birds in the air, seagulls, and that would be really cute. Can you even see what I'm doing down here? Yeah, you can. Okay, in with the color. And some of that turquoisey. And again, we're going to push the color. It. Turning it a little bit so I can get the other side. Now this is almost dry. That's that. And I'm gonna stop right here and I'll tell you why, because I like to have it totally flat when I'm working with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry a little bit more. And when it's totally dry, I'm going to do a quick iron it so it's totally flat. And usually after that it picks up a lot faster, all the colors and stuff. Okay, you can see what I'm doing. I hope so. Because I'm sitting down while I'm doing this. Otherwise you can't do this. You do have to have some you know, something sturdy, and when you're sitting it's just easier than standing and doing this. That's kind of cute all by itself. Don't really need too much more. A little bit darker in the corners would be nice. That's about it. Maybe a little bit here. That's it. Okay, now as you can see up here, you can see like it is like little clouds because we took it off with the cloth, but you can do that with a piece of paper. It works better with paper. And if you want it really small, you can do that with Q-tips, something like that. That works too. So I'm gonna let this dry for a bit, and then I'll be back and I'll finish this bit off, and I'll show you what I usually do when I want something really small. I use these. These are ink tints by Derwent. I don't know if you know these. These are amazing pencils, and I treat them as if they were made of gold, as you can see. I do use them, but not that much because, I don't know, they're so expensive. So that's when I sort of try to do my best to keep them, I'll give you a quick idea of how they work. Let's see. Just taking this away before we totally ruin it. Now, these are Derwent ink tints, like I said, so you can use them as just normal coloring pencils, but then when you come in with a little bit of water, look at that. There's a lot of pigments in these pencils. Now that's a pretty color. Let's get one of my favorite colors. And I bet you all know which one that is. Yes, it is. It's turquoisey color. So you can use it as a pencil, as you can see. And then when you add some water, look at those colors. They are so vibrant. And you could do what I just showed you guys. You could do that totally with these pencils. So then you'd have pencils and you could paint. So that's kind of cool. Right now I'm looking for that really, really beautiful fuchsia pink. Fuchsia pinkish. Let's see. What is this? Shiraz. Not looking for Shiraz. Chili red. We can do a little chili red. But I was really looking for the fuchsia. I think this is the fuchsia. Yes, it is. So first this one. That's that color. Then we do the pinky color. They're really vibrant. So you could do the painting I just did with this, but I'll show you the difference with the Vallejo. So with the Vallejo, of course, I first wet it a little bit and then just put in a drop. Now, see that color? Look at that. That is vibrant. Then I'll take another color. Let's see, what other color can we do which would show it really well. A little bit of purple. There's your purple. And maybe a darker purple. But I'm telling you, you can do such beautiful things with this. I forgot to shake. I could play with these forever, really I could. Look at that. And then I would take some, I gotta make it a little red. But can you see the difference in coloring, in pigments? That is kind of, they are so full of color. And this is like a drop. So with these little bottles, if you were to do 20 bottles, I think you'd have a beautiful color range, and you could do so many paintings with that. That's really a lot of paintings. Let's do the, I'm looking for the other one. This one. This is a beautiful green. Oh, but I've got the water is pretty mucked up. But look at those colors. And how they flow into each other. I think they're awesome. I really do. I can't help it. They're so beautiful. And if I tell you that when I started, you know, painting and drawing and all that kind of stuff, I hated color. I didn't like color. I always did black and white. Oh, that was so much fun. Everyone trying to convince me to do color. Why don't you do color? I don't like color. And now it can't be bright or vibrant enough. Well, I guess you get the general idea. But these Intense by Derwent are pretty good. And you know, if you have to watch the budget, you could go for a set of 36 colors, and you can use them as colored pencils, and you can use them for your watercoloring. So you could go both ways. And that's, you know, stretching the dollar, right? Okay, gonna stop here because this has gone for 30 minutes. Yay! But look at those colors. They are beautiful. So I'm gonna wait for the other one to dry, and then I'll be right back with you guys. See you later.